dusty guy or dusty gals, we're going to change an exterior door today, and this is where these jigs come in handy. You got 3 hinges, as we do on this door, 1, 2, and then 1 down at the bottom. Then I want to show you how to set these up so that when you put them on your new door, your door will fit perfectly. First thing we do is we got to pull the hinges off, or pull the door off, then we got to put the hinges back on so that we can swing them around to set up our jigs, set up our pattern. Got to get Mr. Ducky off of there. Okay, we've got the hinges off. Need to get this door out of the way. Alright. Now we got to put our hinges back on the jam hinges. Alright, now we take the top jig, the top pattern, we set it on the hinge itself. Okay, as you can see, we've got the pattern up there, and then we have the story pole. And the way this works is that as you got this setting on the hinge exactly where it needs to go on the top of this story pole, you've got just a bracket. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. Put a screw in the top of it, and then this will give you your distance in between the jamb and the door. And I'll explain more about that here in a minute. Alright. Pattern goes there. Run this all the way up. Then you want to put you a screw. That's one thing why you've got a hole in the top of this. Right here. Is so it can help you hold it up on the top of the jamb. Okay, now this is hanging from the top. We're going to drill a couple of holes in our story pole into our patterns so it'll hold it on this story pole. Okay, our first one's hung. Hang the second one off the hinge. second one's hung. Now the third one. And now we have the third one. Alright, we'll take the screw out. So we want to take this off. This will be our hinge pattern that we'll put on the door. But before we do that, we need to make sure the door fits the opening. Slide this in the opening. Raise it up. Margin across here is pretty much perfect. Exactly what we need. Alright, this is the top of our door. This bracket that we put on there earlier, we want to turn it around the opposite way because this is going to catch the top of our door. And as we were talking earlier, the top of this bracket is the top of the jamb. The bottom of the bracket inside here goes to the door. So this distance, the thickness of this bracket is going to be the reveal or the space that we have between the top of the door and the top of the jamb. There's no guesswork in here. Once you set this where you want it, okay, we've got this secured to the top of the door. This is our top pattern. We'll drill a hole in each side so that we can set it to the door. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this one and the one on the end. We're going to drill 2 holes. Okay, now that we got them all set, we take the story pole off the hinge pattern jigs. So take it off and then we're set. Okay, what you want to make sure is that the opening of the pattern matches up with your hinge. If the opening is not facing you as far as the way the hinge goes, then you've got these things on backwards. And you just have to reverse the process to turn it back the other way. As you can see, this is the area that we're going to take out for the hinges. And then we'll mount the hinges inside the pattern gauge. Okay, so we're fixing to route out for the hinges, And the first thing that we need to discuss is the router with the bit that you use to route out the hinge. And there's a bearing at the bottom of that bit right there where he's got that pencil. And then the router bit is on above that, right there. And the bearing will ride on, the bearing is designed to ride inside that hinge guide, right there where he's got that pencil. And what we'll do is on this one on the end, you take the hinge, grab the hinge here, David, set it flush at the top of the door, at the edge of the door. You set it at the there you go, right there, flush with the top of the door, and then you take your pencil and go underneath, and all this is just an about reference mark. Okay? You see the pencil mark. Now what you do is you take your router and you go in and you just cut out just a little small area to see if you're at the right depth. Alright, go ahead. Okay, we've made a mark on the door. Now we get the hinge and we set inside that area that we just cut out, and it should be pretty much the same height, and that looks good. Okay, go ahead and take your router and go on around those three, David, and you'll see that this bearing will run around that hinge guide. Okay, now as you can see that we've got them cut in where the hinges go, all three spots, and we're ready to pull those off and put our hinges on. Okay, and now our hinges are ready to go on. And to not complicate matters, you set your hinge on there and drill holes. Don't just run screws in there, because if you get a screw that runs sideways, then what's going to happen is then you're going to have a hinge that's not going to line up very well. Drill pilot holes for your screws, because you want your screws to go in straight. And go ahead and do all three of them, David. Alright, we'll drill the holes so that the screws are going straight. And one more. And the best thing to do is just put 2 screws in the top. Okay. And you want to leave the center hinge off. Put the bottom hinge in.